Hey, everybody. It's Tuesday night. It's 9:30. It's time to go behind the hedges. I'm Mitch, and while we're here, while I have your attention, go ahead and click that like button down below and subscribe to this channel. We really appreciate you. And leave us a comment too, and we'll try to read it while we're on the air. Tonight, we're talking Florida Gators, and we'll be joined by one of our Field of Stream's own deer Gators, and we're going to meet him right after this.
I wake up every minute with the fever dreams. I push the mind to a limit where it needs to be. I work like I got vision I don't need to see. I'm picking mind over matter, I believe in me. I need to find more hours in the day to breathe. Need to find more power in the way I be.
Man, it always gets me in the mood. All right. Hey, welcome Ethan. And also welcome Robert. Hi to you.
Hello,
too,
hello.
So man, how are things with you?
Oh man, we dodged the hurricanes this year just to fight some wildfires here recently. That was
fun.
I
wanted to ask you about that earlier when we were talking in the green room.
Yeah.
How are Jesus, hurricanes and forest fires and
hurricanes and wildfires and tornadoes. Oh my.
Dang, Florida, you scary.
Yes, sir. Let's say nothing of the alligators and mosquitoes.
And meth addicts, right?
Yeah. So, how could I forget Florida man?
So how did you guys have any damage at all from the fires, or?
We were relatively close to the first one that kicked off, so we had to evacuate. Thankfully, for us at least, unfortunately for a couple of families, they did lose their homes. In true Florida man fashion, it started because somebody was burning trash in their backyard. And, next thing you know, there's only about 3 million tons of pine trees that are sitting out in the Florida forest in the Panhandle from Hurricane Michael. And a little Cheeto bag or something flew over into the brush. And next thing you know, we're being evacuated.
That's not funny. I'm certainly not laughing, but I
know you.
The likelihood of it being an actual Cheeto bag is just really
flaming
significant.
Yeah.
Flaming hot Cheeto. Enough of that. We're here to talk about the Florida Gators. All right. First things first, Ethan. Florida 2022 is going to look a lot different from Florida 2021. You hope. So I want you to talk to me about that. Tell me everything you know, or tell me everything you want me to know.
So obviously Dan Mullen was let go at the end of last year. I'll go on record and say this. I think Dan Mullen is a great offensive mind, and I think Dan Mullen could have been very successful at Florida. I think he got complacent and fat and happy and was a bit of a clown, as some people may have alluded to. And ultimately, I think his decision to keep Todd Grantham around for another year, it's a microcosm of the problems that belied our program. A lot of people were pretty unhappy about the fact that he brought over essentially his entire Mississippi State coaching staff. Right. There were some positives of that. Billy Gonzalez, I think, is a decent wide receiver coach. Unfortunately, Todd Grantham ran his course, as he has done everywhere else that he's ever been. And in 2020, probably cost us a chance at the CFP. He's Muschamp, but with offense. Yes, that's he can run his side of the ball well, but he cannot run a program. We were all pretty excited to just kind of move past that, because it seemed like he checked out. And for any profession, especially a multi-million-dollar profession, that's about the worst sin you could have. There's Dan Mullen's unemployed for a reason, and it's because he enjoys vacation time instead of recruiting season.
Right. Yeah. Or I saw something on Twitter about was it on Twitter? I can't remember if it was on Twitter or Discord or somewhere. There was where dogs congregate. Somebody had made the comment that he ran into Dan and Megan Mullen at the airport or something. Like he was at the same airport, and he's barking and national championship ended up with, within earshot. And basically she turned to him and said, please, not right now. We're really just trying to have a vacation. And he's like, well, I mean, what do you even say? The guy's like, he's not even fighting back. Just roll over.
I mean, when when your fan base is known for barking at strangers, sometimes you happen to get scolded by a wife, I imagine.
Oh yeah, I've been scolded by somebody's wife a couple times, and I assure you.
So moving on from Dan Mullen, we have Billy Napier. We're all pretty happy about that hire. Obviously, he brought over a few of his coaching staffs or members from Louisiana Lafayette. Darnell Stapleton was their offensive line coach. Rob Sell technically didn't come with him. He was the New York Giants offensive line coach, but before that, he had been the O-line coach at Louisiana.
There was a connection to Napier.
Yeah. And they had coached at Arizona State, and they had some deep connections. I'll just run through the coaching staff real quick. This is, to me, and it's been, pretty heavily reported on. I think Napier is assembled one of the best staffs in the country. Whether or not he can, relay that into success, whether or not he, as the QB coach, offensive coordinator, head coach, can handle all those different hats remains to be seen. That's kind of where we are as a fan base. But the big one is kind of undeniable. Corey Raymond. Everybody thought that Corey Raymond was essentially that clown picture from The Office when Jim buys the house from his parents. It's just built into the foundation of LSU.
Right.
So him leaving and come to Florida, that I still, as dumb as this may sound, but you guys probably can relate. I remember the night that he was hired. It was about 2 days after we had basically our entire recruiting class decommit, and dark days for your Gator brethren. And I was just looking at my phone, and it said Corey Raymond hired as Florida cornerbacks coach, and it was like 9:30 at night.
You're like,
I'm like,
are we sure it's that Corey Raymond?
That Corey Raymond, So at that point, the fan base kind of breathed a collective sigh because he brought with him Jabbar Jalouk, who was the LSU running backs coach for a season or two. He's kind of been around the SEC a little bit, but he was his running backs coach at Louisiana. Darnell Stapleton. The big one that maybe he's kind of flown under the radar was Patrick Tolney, who is considered to be a bit of a rising star for defensive coordinator. He has interesting connection to Dan Lanning and Glenn Schumann. They all coached together at Southwest Louisiana, and that's where they all kind of cut their teeth. So we're obviously hoping that we can kind of capture that magic that you guys got with Lanning and Schumann.
If he turns out to be like Lanning, you got yourself something.
From a lot of the things I've seen, and this is maybe a bit of hopium. There's a train of thought that thinks that within 2 or 3 years he might be a head coach somewhere. So we're hoping we kind of caught that magic in a bottle. Who else did he bring over? So I think that was it from his Louisiana staff. So then we hired Kerry Colbert from USC as our wide receivers coach. William Piegler came from Michigan State. He was their running backs coach for Kenneth Walker. Now he's our tight ends coach. So that was interesting.
Mikey and I knew a Piegler from Clinch County.
It very well may be some kin there. Funny story about Piegler while we're on that topic. I don't know how true this is. It was on a Discord where Gators congregate. Supposedly when Napier was at Clemson, there was a recruit coming that really enjoyed fishing. And I think I may have shared this in the group chat, but he couldn't take the recruits off campus. So he had 2 GAs cut down a tree and bury the tree in a pond on Clemson's campus so that when the recruit got there, they could go fishing, and he told them exactly where it would be, so the fish would obviously congregate around the tree. And so the assistant, one of them was William Piegler. I don't know how true that story is, but it's an interesting little anecdote if it is true. Then we hired Sean Spencer. He was also with the New York Giants. The Giants were kind of a dumpster fire, but you bring in a couple of NFL coaches, it's always going to be pretty exciting. And then we brought Mike Peterson back. He was South Carolina's linebackers coach. He's our linebackers coach now. He's a Gator great, so everybody loves to see that when your hometown guys come back home. And then Jay Bateman was North Carolina's defensive coordinator, and now he's our other linebackers coach.
So I need to say this about the. Was that the end of your coaching list? I didn't mean to cut you
no,
off.
you're fine. As far as I mean,
okay.
Unless I've missed somebody, I'm pretty sure that's it.
All right. I wanted to say something about the New York Giants before it got down the street. The New York Giants are the number one employer of Georgia Bulldogs in the NFL. And they were also, up until this past year, the number one employer of Derek Dooley in the NFL.
Oh.
And now
it all makes sense now.
Mr. Dooley is going to be employed by the Crimson Tide.
So the Nick Saban school for coaches who can't coach good and want to do other things good too.
Right. And who else is joining the staff there? Who else? Who else did I see? Was it? Oh, it's Grantham.
Grantham he's going to be an analyst.
An analyst for Mr. Saban.
Yep.
So
just real quick though, one thing that has definitely changed compared to the last staff is Napier seemingly learned from Saban and Dabo that you need more than just on-field staff, and he's probably doubled the amount of off-field staff that we had. One thing that people really kind of honed in on was that in his contract with Florida, he specifically had a clause in his contract where the university provides them with like $7.5 million of funding for off-field staff.
Yeah.
And that was something that Mullen never paid attention to, cared about. There's stories about his recruiting director basically texting from his phone, and Kirby Smart heard about it and told the recruits that, hey, if they do this, ask to FaceTime.
Ask to FaceTime, yeah. I know. Yeah. I heard this.
Yeah. So we did manage to poach Georgia's recruiting director, Katie Turner, and so far early returns have been very, very good for her. We've really beefed up the off-field staff, which nowadays you have to have. The one thing I'm really excited for is we've been working on this athletic compound, if you will. It's one of the real big drawbacks to Florida has been, number one, where the athletes live. They basically live in a dorm on campus like other students do. They live in a dorm with other students. It's the Keys Complex is what it's called. One of my buddies actually, the Tay-Bang video, he recorded it, and the press, they got it from him because they lived in the same dorm as the athletes when all that stuff happened. So they're building, they have a new residential complex where it's just going to be the football players. And then they have a new athletic complex that's going to be state-of-the-art, have 3D holographic practice rooms and all this other exciting shenanigans that you need to appeal to 17-year-olds nowadays. A recording booth, the important stuff. So that's been in the works since McElwain was around. McElwain was the one who really pushed for that because Florida, I don't want to say we started it, but we were sort of in the early curve of the facilities arm race, and then it just stopped. We built a really nice complex in front of the stadium, and then everybody kind of copied that, but then we just stopped building. And Georgia was behind in facilities for a long time, and then they just blew past us. Bama always kind of led the way with that. But, when you're an 18-year-old kid and you're looking at a weight room that's underneath the stadium that was built, in the 30s, compared to what Georgia and Bama have, it's just not going to cut it. So these kinds of things, Napier's kind of walking into that situation that the groundwork was laid 2 coaches ago, and it should be finished this summer. So it's kind of perfect timing for him.
So it's like the Pennsylvania Department of Transportation.
Yeah. We're kind of pressing a hard reset button, and he's coming into a good situation where the groundwork was laid by his predecessors.
All right. Well, cool. Well, hey, man, thank you for the info. I'm going to end this segment and remind the people at home to do this.